Welcome to What Are You Sporting About podcast, a podcast about business, employment, sports, and entertainment to help educate, support, and guide you to your next level. Here's your host, attorney Sivonnia DeBarros.
Hello, everybody. It is Sivonnia DeBarros, the protector of athletes, and I am so happy that you are here with us today. Before I bring in my amazing guest, I do want to remind you all that I have an amazing book that is dropping July 31st of this year called Athletes Making Moves. It's all about name, image, and likeness, and I know that you've heard it. Even if you don't know anything about sports, I know that you know, okay? So, hey, I know that you know, okay? I want you to join me on July 31st of this year to talk about name, image, and likeness, what it's doing in college sports, what it's going to allow for college athletes, but also how does it impact professional athletes? Name, image, and likeness is something that it's been here in an intellectual property space for quite a long time, but a lot of athletes don't know that they also too have name, image, and likeness. So I am going to bring in my guest, Miss Monae Everett. I've been after her for a while, trying to get her on the podcast. I love everything that she's been doing and that she has achieved in her business in the hair industry. She is touching lives and making a great impact, and that is what we are all about here on What Are You Sporting About podcast.
Without further ado, Monae is absolutely amazing, and I cannot even remember the room that we met in on Facebook, because I think that's how we met. And I remember us just chatting and talking. And then you started telling me a little bit about what you were doing, but I have been following you since, and I love everything that you've been doing. And so I just want to tell the folks a little bit about you. If they don't already know, they better get to know. Okay, Miss Monae Everett, who is a celebrity hairstylist, author, and public speaker. And she has also over 18 years of experience. Her work can be seen in media ranging from Harper's BAZAAR to Yahoo and Essence to Hair's How. So look, Monae, tell us more about you, what you're up to, some of the people that you worked with, and then we're going to kind of pull that over into kind of like a sports conversation around hair.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just celebrated 20 years, and I was like, man, with the pandemic, it kind of slid by me. I am blessed that I got into a career that I loved very early on. I absolutely love beauty. I am blessed to work with a lot of Dominique Fishback, who was the lead lady in Judas and the Black Messiah. I've worked with Taraji P. Henson, Viola Davis, a lot of Disney girls, a couple of soccer players. Oh my goodness, I hate when I'm ready to say a name and it jumps out of my head. Skylar Diggins Smith is one of my favorite clients from the WNBA, and I recently created a show called the Texture Style Awards, and I created this show because unfortunately in my 20 years, while I've seen a lot of amazing parts of the beauty industry, I've seen a lot of not so great parts of the beauty industry where different beauty types are ignored, different hair textures are overlooked. And you know, at this point, I'm ready to see all hair textures celebrated, and the beauty pros who make them possible, I'm ready to see them get slayed. So I created the Texture Style Awards, which is going to be this Monday, July 5th at 8 p.m.
That is so awesome. So tell us more about the Texture Style Awards, who's competing, what they get if they win anything, because I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, so the Texture Style Awards are awesome. It was absolutely a labor of love and a rally cry to both the beauty industry and the entertainment industry, saying, hey, we're ready for some changes. We have that talent. So there were over 350 entries. Any hairstylist in the U.S. could enter, whether you work in a salon, on set, on productions, entertainment. I don't care if you work at the morgue. You could submit, and the 4 categories are the 4 hair textures: straight hair, wavy hair, curly hair, and kinky coily hair. and all you had to do was send a great picture of your model. It was voted on by 18 esteemed judges. So we had 350 entries by over 100 entrants, and it was voted on by 18 esteemed judges, some of them celebrity hairstylists, some salon owners, some brand ambassadors. So this really opened up doors for different hair pros in the industry, because, you know, we're always hearing, oh, the only folks people care about are the ones who are super popular on Instagram or the ones who style celebrities. And I wanted to debunk that myth. So the 18 judges voted it down to 10 in each category. That took us to 40. Then we opened it up to public voting. And I was simply going to announce the winners, but we got over 27,000 public votes. You hear me? 27,000 people cared enough to vote. So I said, no, we must have grown up. We have to do better. We can't just announce it. So now we're down to the top 4 in each category. And there are 4 nominees in the straight hair, wavy hair, curly hair, and the kinky coily competition. We also honored the Change Agent of the Year. So another young woman, Kia Neal, who is breaking down barriers in this industry. And we are acknowledging Beauty Personalities of the Year. So we have another podcast who's doing a great job showing all of the different voices in the beauty industry and promoting them. And we will also be naming New Talent of the Year. And this is someone who basically did the best and swept all of the awards.
That is awesome, because I don't think people really recognize that with diversity issues, it can also be a matter of the hair industry. So I'm a person who love hair. I actually went to cosmetology school before I even went to college. So that's a fun fact about me that a lot of people don't know. But this is also an area of contention, especially in the corporate America space as well. So I recently had did an interview on hair, and hair discrimination, but it's not a national protection for Black and brown individuals. So I love the work that you're doing to create a platform for other people to showcase not just their work, but their love for our hair. And I love the categories.
Yeah, and it's all textures. This is not a race thing. A lot of people think when I'm saying texture, I am being tongue in cheek and saying Black. No, if you're a hairstylist, you should be able to do every hair texture. There's only 4 hair textures. It is a complete mislead when people say, oh, it's about Black and white. I'm like, yeah, but when Hispanic people who have curly hair go to the salon, they struggle to get their hair done. When you have stereotypically Asian hair and they want their straight hair cut, they have a hard time because people can say the hair is too straight. So it's about taking some ownership. We need to style all hair textures. And to help, I actually provided multiple free classes that anyone could take in all 4 categories: straight hair, wavy hair, curly hair, and kinky coily, because I wanted people to be able to enter and not say, well, I don't have that skill, or not hide behind their ignorance. And yeah, I'm so happy that the Crown Act has been passed. It's unfortunate that, hair protection is not national, but did you know, Black hair in particular has been marginalized and had laws against it since before this country was a country. Since the colonial days, we had the freaking Tegan laws saying that Black hair specifically, that's when it was about race. Black hair specifically.
Absolutely.
Had to be covered. So it's crazy that people say they don't care about hair. Hair is so minute, it doesn't matter. But there are all these laws regulating how we look. So clearly someone cares.
Absolutely. And you're so right. When you think about Latino, and specifically, I also think about my Dominican sisters and brothers who know how to get up in that kinky curly or that wavy hair, and they make it happen no matter what. But you're right. We want to make sure that there is an inclusive space for all people of all, with different types of hair. You reminded me of what happens because I've seen this actually, where there's a Caucasian kid with super curly hair that's pretty thick. How would his normal or his family stylist or her family stylist know how to style their hair? Would they feel well, they feel like they have been excluded because of how their hair is. There's so many conversations we can have around here, and just feeling like you've been excluded from a particular group, or, you know, you can't do certain things because your hair is a certain way, or you're branded as a different type of way because your hair is not straight or wavy or fine or what have you. So I love all of this that you're doing. Yeah. And so you said it airs or launches on July 5th.
So the company's going on since February. It's going to air July 5th at 8 p.m.
Okay.
8 Eastern.
Okay. And where is that airing?
Just simply go to texturestyleawards.com. texturestyleawards.com. We have this lovely website where we're going to air the show July 5th at 8 p.m. EST.
All right. Awesome. So I want to switch gears a little bit because, as you know, I ask everyone on this show, what does What Are You Sporting About mean to them? And the reason why I ask this question is because I want people to recognize the fact that, yes, I talk to a lot of athletes and I talk to people that are connected and around sports, but the question is so much bigger and broader than that. Everyone should be sporting for something in their life. So, Miss Monae, what does this question, what are you sporting about, mean to you?
I am sporting specifically about diversity and inclusion in the beauty industry, not just the beauty standards that we see on the screen, but getting those of us who are talented these opportunities to make it to major productions, major markets, and acknowledgments.
Love it. All right. So we are in an era right now where a lot of athletes are competing at the Olympic trials for their seat. Okay. They are trying to get their seat, honey, at the table for 2021 for the Olympics. And I've seen several Black female athletes being called out, or, you know, just bad statements being made about them because of how they wear their hair. I want to get your opinion about that, because there's one athlete in particular, and her name is, it's escaping me right now. I cannot think about it, but she has like this orange hair, long nails, and people were like, well, she shouldn't be dressed like that, or what is that?
Sha'Carri.
Yes, Sha'Carri. Thank you. Jesus, I could not think of this girl's name. Yes, Sha'Carri. And there was a young lady that I know who made a post about it and was like, you know, people need to just let her be her. And my response was, yeah, you know, everything doesn't work for everybody, but that's not you. So you do you. You do what makes you feel comfortable. Let other people do what makes them feel comfortable. And I love the fact, though, that you can, like, if we stop automatically judging people around what we see and look at it from a positive standpoint, whether you agree with how she chooses to wear her hair or whatever, you could see that this is someone who's super confident, right, in herself. You can tell she has a bubbly attitude, because anyone who can go out into the world with loud colors, come on now, there's something to love about their personality. So tell me, like, what did you think about all of the little trolls out there around Sha'Carri? What advice would you give her if you were her stylist right now?
Okay, so clearly I'm in love with Sha'Carri. I mean, did you see the way my face lit up when Sha'Carri came into I am posting about her like I am fangirling about her, her and Simone Biles. So part of me wants to answer this professionally, and the other part of me wants to just really give an answer. So the first professional answer I would give as her stylist is let's do what you want to do. Be very clear. Stuff is only ghetto until it's fashion. You get what I'm saying? You know, other communities always come into the minority community, take what is considered ghetto and put it on a runway. They put it on someone who stereotypically wouldn't rock it, you know, a blonde hair, blue eyed girl, and now it's fashion. Okay. I assume, well, also Shikari also did an interview recently with her hair in an afro and no makeup, and everyone had a problem with that as well. So the issue is not the orange hair. The issue is her. They don't like her ethnic name. They don't like her winning awards. They don't like that she looks more muscular than the other people. So it's not really her. And also it's very in fashion to have different color hair. When I first was a hairstylist, I didn't see my natural hair color for probably 12 years. Purple, pink, green, blue, and I'm highly considering going back. Sometimes I wake up and I'd be like, what's the most ghetto look that I can pull off right now? And my reason for doing that is because when you're in spaces that somebody ghetto would not have the opportunity to go, sometimes you just want to remind people, I'm that same person. What she say, I'm that girl. I'm that girl you would have a problem with letting me in the room. But the problem is, I am smart enough to be here. I'm educated enough. I'm skillful enough. In her case, I'm strong enough. I'm disciplined enough. And you can't beat me. So kiss my ass when this orange hair goes flying past you. It really is about the superhero. She really is, like when I work with celebrities on the red carpet and they want to wear their natural hair, is to make a political statement. She is using beauty standards to make a political statement. Y'all like it when Kylie wears this different color hair. Y'all love her long nails, just like Cardi B. It was considered really ghetto and hood, but Cardi B has really long decorative nails, and all of a sudden, because she's more mainstream, is considered fashion. I am 10,000% down for Shikari. There's another Jamaican runner who has green hair. I am a major fan of it. I remember going into, like, I had some big events and I wanted to get my hair braided. And I was like, braids are becoming a norm. I want something real hood. Let me get the whitest blonde, the longest length, because when you walk in, you're not expected to be there. And it does become the topic of the conversation. But always remember, you can't do what I can do. And if you could do what I could do, I wouldn't need to be here. So how about you accept me fully and be happy that I'm here and not judge me? I don't judge you when you come to work with your bedhead. So yeah, I could have given you a straight answer, but you excited. I love Shikari. I remember when Gabrielle Douglas was being dragged through the mud, and it just was hurtful. The gymnast Gabrielle Douglas, everybody's not a hairstylist. This is why I have, my job. Serena Williams, they work jobs where they are sweating intensely all the time. We cannot expect them to go out and kick down walls and barriers and still look like models. Doesn't work that way.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm even impressed with female athletes who wear makeup.
Yeah.
And their hair is a certain way that's unbothered by all that power that they exude. I'm like, whoa, what are y'all using? Because this is amazing. But no, you're right. And it really pissed me off with Gabrielle, because I mean, we're talking about a child, someone's child, right? And Lashinda Dimas said this. She's a former Olympic athlete, that there was a point for her where she was the best, and she was the best for herself too. And that wasn't enough for people.
No, it's not.
And it's so sad though, because it's like, what are we telling our kids? And specifically, what are we telling people who are they're at the cusp of pouring into our Black female athletes? Because that's really where I'm seeing a lot of these issues arise. I don't see people tearing down our little young Caucasian girls the same way that they're tearing down our Black girls. You know what I'm saying?
They have the short hairline that's been ripped out from the ponytails. They have the same breakage. But whatever a white woman does, it's fine. It must have been meant to be that way. But if a Black girl does it, it's a problem.
Yeah, and that's just, it's so sad. It's so sad. So I love the fact that we have someone like you who is out here educating people, because it is a matter of education. And I always say, everything is a matter of education. It doesn't matter what it is. Like if you want something to be better, if you want to change something, then you have to implement education in your own life. And so you can educate your own self about what can I do to my hair, you know, to either stop breakage, or how can I wear my hair to protect it, like in protective hairstyles, like a lot of Black and brown people do to this day. But what advice would you give someone like Miss Gabrielle Douglas, our young gymnasts and young athletes out there who are struggling with image because of what the social status says that they should look like?
Yeah, I would simply say the only thing left to do is ignore it. My assumption is the reason why they are not out in protective styles is either it doesn't work for the sport because they're sweating so much, or they're simply not allowed to. A broken hairline is a broken hairline. You'll find that on every ethnicity. Clearly they're going down. I'm assuming they're gelling it down as much as possible. There is a hair and makeup crew that travels with them. So all you can do is ignore it and concentrate on your sport. And I would love to give more advice. There's no more to be given. They work out every day. It's not like, you know, the average person who works out, you know, 1 to 3 days a week and then they can maintain their hair the other days. This is these young women's job. They eat well, they're active. There's nothing more you can do. Stand up with pride and know that you have represented the country, not just your community, the country. And I wanted to bring up another woman. Remember the woman on the sidelines that they gave that horrible job, time about her hair? She was an NFL announcer.
I vaguely remember that. Oh my gosh. How long ago was that?
Within the last 5 years. And that kind of goes to my point. We vaguely remember her. And the reason why people say hair doesn't matter, but every week they assaulted this Black woman about her hair when the wind blew and stuff. She's no longer an NFL commentator. She no longer has a show. She was one of the first Black women to be on the sidelines. It's windy in some of those categories. Her wig, her hair blew back. You can see her tracks, this, that, and the other. Okay, she didn't have a hairline. When white women are out there and their hair blows back and it's standing straight up on their head, no one says anything. So I'm bringing this up to say, while y'all think it's funny to pick at and tease people about their hair, it literally is stopping their bag. And I bring her up because she lost her job. I bring up Gabrielle Douglas because it made her suicidal. I bring this up in entertainment because you'll never see a Black woman nominated for a SAG award, an Image award, a Oscar if she looks crazy in the movie. Looks matter.
Mm-hmm. It does. But we also have to be cognizant of why we say or how looks are supposed to matter, because there's this subjective Western standard about what beauty really is, and that's not inclusive.
Yeah.
Because we don't look like the Western standard of what beauty is supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to have to do some research on this young lady, because I definitely remember hearing about this, but I cannot remember her name. And you're so right. And this is also a point that I totally wanted to bring up when you were talking about Sha'Carri. Representation matters, right? And to have someone like this announcer in the space that she was in, we need more Black women in those spaces to showcase their beauty in every single way. The way that you speak, the way that you stand, the way that you walk, the way that you command attention, and the way that you wear your hair, right? Because I mean, that's all a part of beauty. It's all a part of who you are. And beauty has so many different phases and faces to it. It shouldn't just be this one-dimensional level of what is representative of beauty.
Her name is Pam Oliver. And remember, she was one of the most popular at the time. For her to be a fleeting thought, for us to not remember, and me looking back at the images like, what was so bad? Her hair just flew in the wind. Like, I'm looking at the images like she looks fine, besides the gravity on their personal mind frame. Keep in mind, she's not at the forefront of the sport anymore.
You're so right. And I'm looking at a photo of her right now. I remember her. Yeah. Thank you for pulling this up, because there's nothing wrong with what I'm seeing on here. Wow. Yeah. We got to do more, and we got to make sure that not only that we are putting ourselves in positions to represent for those who are coming alongside of us or after us, but we also have, while we're in those spaces, we have to band together to support each other.
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking that's the biggest problem with that issue is where were the allies, those who looked like her and those who didn't? Yes. Because like from quoting Lashinda, the standard shouldn't be that being great wasn't good enough. This one was amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like, who is out there supporting these individuals? And particularly women in every industry are the ones who have to abide by these so-called beauty standards. And it's creating, like you said, these mental health crisis issues, right? Yeah. So we definitely got to make sure that we're building a family, for lack of a better word, to help support each other in times like this.
And I mentioned the possibility of these young women wearing protective styles, and that took me back to Venus and Serena. Those young girls came out there and were whooping tail, and all anybody could say was, look at those ugly braids, and why do they have beads, and they look this way and they look that way. There will always be a problem, because the problem is not the hair. The problem is the person that they don't want in the space.
Come on now, somebody. Come on. So there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do except for show up, be authentic in who you are, own your space 100%. You know what I'm saying? And just black out everything else, filter out all the noise so that you can actually perform. Absolutely. So I absolutely love this conversation. I want to ask you, though, before we wrap up, Monae, for all these people in the entertainment industry, music, film, people in sports, what is one or two tips that you can give them around hair, or just in general about business, something that you've been able to implement in your own life to be successful?
Hair
or business, it doesn't matter.
I think most athletes already understand the importance of discipline. I think they also understand the importance of a great diet. A great diet helps them to play their sport, but that's also your best way of getting great hair, great skin, great nails.
I love that.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking in terms of hair. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to really get out there and shock everybody with a style that really represents who you are. I am a huge fan of protective styles. I think if possible, wear your natural hair and avoid the chemicals, because there's so much sweating. There's no way. It would be difficult for you to really keep up with it. Find a great hairstylist, one who works with you, understands your schedule, understands your hair needs, and understand that you can request that stylist to travel with you. Many of the top athletes do that. I really loved the way the WNBA had the NBA had the barber bowl for when they were in the bubble. And they had their barbers to really try out to come and be able to support them in the bubble. Just like you work hard to get to the top of your field, and there are different accolades, it's the same thing for the people who take care of you. Pour into them the same way they pour into you.
I love it. And, that's one of the biggest things that I actually love about hair. As a hairstylist, you're kind of like a preacher in a way. I mean, think about it, because your hair is your crown, it's your glory, and it's already a privilege to be in someone's hair. But not only that, think about the picturization of having someone standing over your head and you're speaking to them. It's like you're speaking over them, you're covering them. And when you can speak into them, you can breathe so much life and hope, and motivation and inspiration into these people. And sometimes you never even know what someone may be dealing with on the inside before they sit in your chair, but they can leave out of that chair feeling free and encouraged to move on, and to really just go hard at approaching another day with a new way, a new perception of things.
Yeah. And Gabrielle Douglas was brought up. Little did we know that she was dealing with sexual abuse at that time. So she was being treated as less than in person, and the whole world was speaking negatively about her hair, something else she could not fully control.
I absolutely agree to that. Well, Monae, it was my pleasure to have you on this podcast. I'm super excited to see the Texture Style Awards. Let me get that 100% right. So July 5th, guys, make sure that you go to texturestyleawards.com. It will air. Remind us of the time again.
8 p.m. Eastern at texturestyleawards.com. 8 p.m. Eastern, texturestyleawards.com. Just log in and it'll be right. Just go to texturestyleawards.com and it'll be right there waiting for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being amazing, for all that you are doing, for the lives that you are touching while you're being folks' stylist. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for coming on here to share part of your journey and some words of wisdom with us. So without further ado, we will let you guys go. Thank you for tuning in on this episode of What Are You Sporting About with Monae Everett. Until next time, we will check you later. Ciao. Hey, just to remind you, don't forget to go and register for Athletes Making Moves at athletesmakingmoves.com. You can register there to get your ticket, secure your seat so that you know how to secure and protect your name, image, and likeness. All right. I'll see you soon. Ciao.
Thanks for joining us this week on What Are You Sporting About podcast. Make sure to visit our website, prosportlawyer.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite platform is, so you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, What Are You Sporting About? Attorney Sivonnia DeBarros is available for private consulting at sldebarros.com. And remember, we're here to educate, support, and guide you in your journey to success, because we're all sporting about something.